Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. So hopefully by now everybody clicking on this video has seen The Mandalorian. If you haven't, listen, we're not doing spoiler alerts anymore. All you had to do to see the show was pay for Disney Plus. Pay for Disney Plus. What kind of stupid dumbass would do that? So anyways, as I was saying, right, Mandalorian transport ships. Anybody who's seen the Mandalorian series or knows anything about the history of Mandalorians would probably ask themselves, well, why would the Mandalorians really need to transport anything aside from little green baby Yodas? But back before the time of the Galactic Empire, the Mandalorians had a flourishing empire of their own, and of course by flourishing I mean they were kicking the crap out of other planets, killing lots of things and enslaving whatever they didn't. This is the way. And with such an expansive empire and the large armies within it, they needed to move things around. Soldiers, weapons, vehicles, Beskar, whatever. And they had a lot of cool ships they used for such operations. Today we are going to learn about such ships. Let's start with the Acure-class shuttle, also known as the Mandalorian shuttle. I don't actually know if the J should have been silent there. If you know, let me know in the comments below, but I feel like it's cooler, the silent J. Silent letters are always cooler. The Acure-class shuttle was a shuttle. Didn't see that one coming, did you? That was produced by Mandal Motors and used by the new Mandalorians during the Clone Wars. The Acure shuttle didn't have any hyperdrive because it was mostly used just to transport passengers within close proximity of Mandalore, such as its moon Concordia. That said, the 18-meter long shuttle could reach speeds of up to 900 kilometers per hour. Hold on for 1 second, please. Oh, hey Lisa, quick question. Who put that metric crap in the script? Aha. And what do we do to people who misbehave and don't follow the rules? That's right, we execute them. And what else? We kill 3 generations of their family. So please, would you get that done for me? Thank you. Oh, and Lisa, don't let it happen again! Sorry, as you can see, the ship also had wings that could change position in order to act as landing gear. Of course, as the new Mandalorians were pacifists, so were their ships, meaning the Acure-class had no armament, as the ship was designed for quote-unquote peaceful transportations. In the case that it was fired upon, it would fire back not with stupid laser beams, but with love beams, in the hopes of making the galaxy a better place. The G-type light shuttle was a small transport ship produced by Horst Kessel Drive Inc. and played a major role for the Sith in ferrying small groups back and forth between planets and capital ships during the Jedi Civil War and Sith Civil War. One reason the ship was so popular is that it had advanced pilot programming, meaning that it could be operated by less experienced pilots. There was also an escape configuration of the ship that allowed room for only one person, as it came with more equipment dedicated to increasing the occupant's survivability. The escape configuration also had stronger shielding and a hyperdrive. As far as Mandalorians go, the Neo-Crusaders, an order of Mandalorians that fought the Mandalorian Wars against the Galactic Republic thousands of years before the rise of the Empire, were known to use this ship. The Mandalorian dungeon ship was a prison warship built by the Mandalorians and used by the Mandalorian Neo-Crusaders during the Mandalorian Wars to transport prisoners. We don't know much about this ship, but it proved to be so durable that its design was the basis for 2 ships to come thousands of years later. The first of these ships was the Lictor-class dungeon ship, also known as the Imperial dungeon ship. The Lictor-class was a mobile prison warship produced by Mandal Motors. The Empire would use the 2,500-foot-long ship's universal energy cages and holding cells to transport thousands of Force-sensitive prisoners during the Great Jedi Purge. The sight of the Lictor-class was intimidating to the Jedi, who knew of the ship's sparring chambers in which Sith acolytes would be allowed to practice on captive Jedi. Legend has it, no captive to ever enter one of these ships was ever seen alive again. The Mandalorians themselves used the ship during the Yuuzhan Vong War in the late 20s ABY. Then, Rendili Stardrive, another starship manufacturing company, would go on to produce the Kiltirin-class dungeon ship, a scaled-down version of the Lictor-class dungeon ship, still based on the original Mandalorian design. This just under 500-foot-long ship could carry 1,250 prisoners and had only 5 quad turbo laser batteries, whereas the Lictor-class had 10, and had only a single tractor beam projector, where its bigger sibling had 2. The Mandalorian gunship was a ship used by the Death Watch during the Clone Wars. The Death Watch was a Mandalorian splinter group that arose in support of a return to the savage and violent ways of the ancient Mandalorians and greatly opposed the pacifist ideals of the new Mandalorians, and it's honestly hard to explain what the hell they are and why the hell they arose, because canon and legends is a complete cluster truck. Anyway, we really don't know anything about this ship. You're gonna have to use your imagination. We think the ship existed because the Star Wars databank seems to imply a few times that it appeared during the Clone Wars, but because it provides no information about it and no picture, we cannot determine which ship it is or if it actually did exist. It might not have. Next, the Neo-Crusader Q Carrier was a carrier ship used as a troop dropship by the Neo-Crusaders during the Mandalorian Wars. This is another ancient ship that we know almost nothing about, but once again, it was the predecessor to an even greater ship that would come later. The later ship, of course, was the Meteor-class Q Carrier, a Mandal Motors-produced ship that was used by the true Mandalorians and the Mandalorian Protectors. True Mandalorians were a group of Mandalorian supercommandos who opposed the Death Watch. Don't get me wrong, the true Mandalorians loved violence and bloodshed and murder and all that other fun stuff. They just preferred to do such things in an honorable way, rather than eat the flesh of their enemies and kill cute cuddly animals as the Death Watch did. The Mandalorian Protectors, on the other hand, were elite warriors who served as the ruler of Mandalore's royal guard and maintained balance in the warrior culture. Both of these groups employed the Q Carrier as a dropship, using it to transport troops to the battlefield from carriers in space. Actually, given its exclusive use by the Mandalorians, it came to be called the Mandalorian dropship, and in honor of their history, the look of the ship was made to resemble the face of a Tong, the Mandalorians' ancient ancestors. The Q Carrier was also well armored with heavy hull plating and was armed with twin blaster cannons. Transport-wise, the ship was capable of very fast landings thanks to its landing gear, which could absorb the shock of high-speed impacts. When production of Mandal Motors ships was disrupted by the Mandalorian Civil War, the Q Carrier had to be replaced by the Amphibious Interstellar Assault Transport, a gunship designed by Quad Drive Yards. The AIAT was then used by the Mandalorians as their go-to troop transport in the lead-up to the Clone Wars. The 103-foot-long ship could use its pair of oversized sublight engines to carry up to 50 troops, or an assortment of troops, prisoners, vehicles, and other cargo. The AIAT was armed with laser turrets and concussion missiles and could land on water. The Pursuer-class enforcement ship was a heavy patrol craft produced by Mandal Motors. The 98-foot ship featured twin blaster cannons, an ion cannon turret, and a proton torpedo launcher, which isn't often mounted on ships of this size. The Pursuer was also equipped with military-grade shield generators. Originally, the ship was used by the Mandalorian Protectors during the Clone Wars. But once the Empire forced Mandal Motors to install Imperial advisors on their board, the ship magically became available to Imperial forces throughout the galaxy. Boba Fett himself used a modified Pursuer called Slave 2, but it was eventually stolen. During the Yuuzhan Vong War, the Mandalorian Protectors used the ship, usually with a slaved Gladiator-class assault fighter, to liberate worlds. The Shadler-type troop ship was the name for a series of military personnel carriers used by the Mandalorian Crusaders and Neo-Crusaders during the Great Sith War and Mandalorian Wars to land troops on the surface of planets for the purpose of beginning an assault. When landing, the ship's legs would extend to support the weight of the ship. The Shadlar was armed with medium turbo lasers, ion cannons, and concussion missiles. The Shadlar had an arthropodous or insect-like appearance, and thus it's no surprise that it was based on a basilisk in design. It certainly bore some similarities to the basilisk war droid, though later versions of the ship tended to look less insect-like. The Stathis-class freighter was a starship produced by Mandal Motors. There's not much to say about this ship as it was an experimental ship with only 9 ever built. The ship really didn't have anything special about its appearance and looked like many other freighters. The ship was named for the Stathis, a sleek venomous reptile native to the Mandalore system that was known for seeming harmless in appearance in order to hide its deadly capabilities. The 95-foot-long ship was armed with a quad laser cannon and a proton torpedo launcher, and was also well armored and could stand up to heavy fire from enemy ships. Thus, despite being a freighter, the Stathis could challenge many starfighters, including TIE fighters. One of the 9 ships produced, known as the Tionan Ranger, was used by Twi'lek Bib Fortuna to smuggle spice for Jabba the Hutt. Eventually, the ring was taken down and the ship was seized. Finally, the Lictor-class transport, another ship that we don't have any images of, was a starship produced by Mandal Motors in 40 ABY and used by the Mandalorian protectors in complement with the Besu League, a Mandalorian starfighter that saw much action during the Second Galactic Civil War. The Trikad meaning Star Saber in Mandoa, was a flying tank. It was slow and heavily armored and was used for assault as well as for troop insertion and extraction. The ship was armed with 6 cannon turrets and rotating modular weapons platforms. The ship also had no blind spots, as its weapons fired in arcs that overlapped each other. The Trikad was very low tech, which meant it could function for a time without power. Mandalorians would often use this advantage to hide undetected among space debris, waiting for the perfect opportunity to launch a surprise attack. Anyway, that's the video. Those are the transport ships of the Mandalorians. I really hope in the upcoming Mandalorian season later this year, hopefully it gets released later this year, that we get to see a lot more historical Mandalorian technology, ships, weapons, etc. But anyways, I won't blab on and on and on. You get on with your day. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a like. Definitely comment down below. Remember to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. For now, my name is American Ben, and I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.